this shit knock and roll.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the CrownHoops Podcast. We're on to episode number 36 now. My name is Jordan Daly. With me this week, I have Stacey Collier and Ben Okazawa. Say what's up, guys.
What's up?
What's going on?
Mike couldn't make it this week. He's doing schoolwork, keeping that grind. So hopefully he'll be back next time. I think he said this is his final week, so he should definitely be back next time we do this. We've been pretty inconsistent week by week, but we're working on that. This whole quarantine thing has everyone off. So, but I feel like we'll just kind of jump right into it. The biggest thing with NBA going on for the past, I think, 3 weeks now is obviously Michael Jordan's The Last Dance documentary. We're recording this on Sunday night, so the most recent episodes for those in the U.S. were 5 and 6. Ben's in Canada, so they're doing it a little bit differently. Like in the U.S., it's kind of live on TV every Sunday night. Ben was telling us that in Canada, correct me if I'm wrong, you said that it's released on Netflix on Monday.
Yeah, Monday. I'm not sure the time. It honestly could be midnight tonight or sometime tomorrow, but I just always watch it Monday evening.
Okay, yeah. So they'll get so he hasn't seen, 5 and 6. So me and Stacey are a little ahead of him. So, I mean, it's not like we're spoiling anything, like Ben was saying earlier, just because it's already kind of history. But Stacey, I'm gonna kind of start with you. Obviously you're older than me and Ben. I was probably 2 when Michael Jordan, was winning all these championships. I was born in '97. Ben, were you even born?
01.
Okay, so he got Wizards MJ, right?
Yeah. Well, not that I was really conscious for any of it, but
fair. Yeah, I mean, me too. I don't remember any of it. But Stacey's a little bit older than us. So Stacey, what's kind of your opinion on the documentary and kind of everything that he's been through? I mean, this is kind of opening new doors for me. I'm learning things that I didn't even know. So I'll let you take it away.
Well, I already knew a lot about Michael Jordan. Even though I was born in the 90s, I didn't watch basketball till about 2000, 2001. But I already knew the legend of Michael Jordan and seeing the highlights and everything. One thing that's been eye-opening for me is like the background story before the games, before the championship run, before everything. Like tonight's episode was detailing him hiding away from the media for like 2 weeks because he was facing a lot of scrutiny, and it was talking about the Jordan Rules book and all that stuff. And I didn't realize all that stuff was going on. And I'm kind of glad that it put a human spin on Jordan, because we look at him as such a legend that we don't see everything that he went through before he even got on the basketball court. So it's been eye-opening as far as like him, like releasing a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. But I overall about the documentary, I love the documentary. I've been tied into it. Watched 2 straight hours. I don't mind. I don't move. Like I'm watching on my iPad. I'm doing laundry. Now I'm carrying my iPad up, so I won't miss a minute of it. So I've been loving the documentary. It's definitely been eye-opening, and it confirms for me like Michael Jordan is the GOAT, and that shouldn't be disputed right now. So I love it.
Yeah, I mean, kind of touching on what you said, I think it's really awesome to see kind of behind the scenes. Obviously, someone that, didn't grow up watching him play, all I really know is, what I've seen on YouTube and the stats that are available and different highlights clips. I've seen a couple games that are on NBA TV. But, to kind of see, like, what was really going on and why he did certain things and why he was the way he was, specifically with his competitiveness, I think it's really, really interesting and kind of seeing how, modern day players or players that I grew up watching kind of like model after his game. So that's been really interesting to me. But like you said, it's like every Sunday, it's like a religious thing now. Like me and my dad, we take over the TV downstairs. We kick my mom out. She's watching some doctor show. So like she's going upstairs in the room. Don't bye. It's our time. But Ben, what are your thoughts on it so far?
Oh man, I've been loving it so far. I'm watching it with both my parents every Monday night, and I like what Stacey said about it's kind of humanizing Michael Jordan a little bit, because people my age and like younger than me, a lot of us, like me personally, I think MJ is the GOAT. And this show has been good because it's helped me kind of like confirm that belief. But a lot of people my age believe truly that LeBron's the best basketball player of all time. Which, I mean, they have like a fair claim to say that. Everyone has a right to their opinion. But I think it's a lot of that was because Michael Jordan, they've seen the highlights and all that, but he's really just an urban myth. It's not exactly, or he's like a legend. It's not exactly the same as, watching LeBron live as it's happening, pin Iguodala's shot to the backboard. Like, you're not seeing all of these shots happen live, in the moment for a lot of people my age. So for this documentary to kind of put a lot of things in perspective for them and see, first of all, I loved the Pistons arc, and that's showing a lot of people how much more MJ had to put up with because his era was different. So I think it's good for Michael Jordan's reputation. I think it's good for everyone involved because we have something to watch now. All the players love it. The players all have something to do now and comment on and tweet about whatever. And I think it's honestly good for Michael Jordan's reputation as well.
I want you just about the players. I do find it really cool how it's like in between commercials, I'm checking Twitter and I'm seeing like, Donovan Mitchell, Trae Young, like all the modern NBA guys just commenting on it. And it's really cool to see, especially since like guys like Trae Young at this point are younger than me. Which is still kind of weird to me. But
yeah, I'm not ready for that.
One of the things I wanted to, mainly two of the things. One of my biggest takeaways so far from this, and I guess this is one of those things I was saying, like I didn't really know. All I knew was, his play style. I didn't really know his attitude or mentality or anything like that. How petty this man really was. He needed to be the best. So like, Ben, I know you're behind, but this episode specifically, the one that just happened tonight, he was talking about a couple guys, and one of them, he was being compared to Clyde Drexler. And, he was like, no, I'm going to prove him wrong. Like, don't even dare compare me to Clyde Drexler. And then they showed the famous shrug game when MJ kept hitting threes and just kind of shrugged to Magic Johnson, who was an announcer at the time. And, it goes into his competitiveness with just everything. Like, and that brought up the whole gambling thing. Like, he wanted to win at everything. It was golf. It was cards, it was basketball, it didn't matter. And Magic Johnson, he had like a part of an interview in this episode, and he was saying that, they'd have card games a lot, and Michael Jordan didn't just want to win; he would play you until he I think this was the exact quote. I think he said that he would play you until he had his foot on your neck, making you beg for mercy. Like, he didn't just want to beat you; he wanted to like obliterate you. And like. There was another guy. I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation of his name. It was like Mjurley, something like that.
Dan Marley.
Marley.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Who was supposed to be like one of the best defenders, and Krause really wanted him. So Jordan's like, no, I'm just gonna prove him wrong and just like bap out of this guy. And same thing with the Dream Team. They showed clips of that and how he wanted to just embarrass Tony Kukoc. Because Jerry Krause really wanted this guy instead of paying Pippen, and the fact that he just was being petty and wanted to embarrass the crap out of this guy just cause, like, I don't know, that was really interesting to me. But one thing on that topic that I kind of want to ask you guys is, before this documentary came out, Michael Jordan said that this documentary is going to make a lot of people's opinions of him change and maybe not even like him. So I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that, and we'll start with you this time, Ben.
It's just, for me, it extends beyond liking him or whatever. I don't really have an opinion as far as that. It's just like huge levels of respect for him as a player and as a competitor, just because of the length that he goes to. I know what it's like. The first episode covered his relationship with his older brother. I have an older brother. I know what it's like losing to your older brother in the driveway, pick up 1v1 every day. So I kind of get where his drive comes from, and I respect the level that he takes it to, and he never, despite people will say this or that about how he dealt with Kukoc, like you were just talking about, but it's a level of loyalty there as well to Scotty, on top of just being petty. So I just gained respect for him, I would say. Okay,
what about you, Stacey?
I don't like him even less. In my opinion of him hasn't changed. This was Michael Jordan, and we just seeing all of it lay out. He was the ultimate competitor. He wanted to kill anybody and everybody. And my opinion about him hasn't changed. As far as like the rest of the public, if they don't like him, I don't know if it's going to change the rest of the public. The only thing I can see that will come off negative is, like you said, Jordan, like how petty he can be, and also the whole him shying away from the political aspect of sports. You know, not taking a stand on any social justice issues going on within the Black community. So I can see those two things coming off negative, but everything else for me just stays the same, and I think it's going to stay the same for the public as well.
Okay. Yeah, they brought up kind of the political aspect of things tonight, mainly with, I think it was a senator run in North Carolina, Congress, some type of political run, and I think Jordan said that he didn't want to make a statement on anything because he said both Republicans and Democrats buy shoes. I think that was like the quote he said. I could be a few words off. And I know that kind of, made him lose respect from some people, but he kind of came back with that and he said, look, I'm not a politician. I'm an athlete. I'm here to play my craft. He said, what is it, selfish? Probably, but, that's what he was there to do, is to play basketball. And at the end of the day, yeah, they are athletes, but I get kind of both sides of it where, if you have that kind of platform, you may want to use that to better the world in a way, I guess. So it's tough to see both sides. But last thing before we move on from the documentary, what is your favorite part so far, or something that kind of continues to start? And I'll give you mine to kind of give you guys an idea. One thing that makes me laugh literally every episode is how badly Michael Jordan treated Jerry Krause. All the little one-liner digs, I find them absolutely hysterical. The short jokes, like tonight there was one episode when they won the finals. They're all doing cigars, and he said, everyone gets one but Krause, they'll stunt your growth. And then he's like, oh, wait. So, I just find that stuff hysterical, especially knowing all the friction and the butting heads that was going on behind the scenes. I just found that really funny. So, Stacey, what was your favorite part so far?
Oh, where do I begin? I know one of my favorite parts that stuck out to me is him overcoming the Boston Celtics and then the Detroit Pistons and capturing his first championship, because the knock on Jordan was, and I didn't know this was going on, that he couldn't carry a team. I never knew that people were saying that about Michael Jordan before he won his first championship, that he couldn't carry a team, that he wasn't a leader, and he was just a scoring machine and nothing else. And just to see him put in that work and pay attention to detail and get stronger and everything to take down the two teams that was in his way was one of my favorite parts. And then just watching him against, one of the things that happened tonight was watching that series against the Knicks, the Eastern Conference Finals, just watching him go down 0-2, which, again, I wasn't even aware that he was down 0-2. I just know that he won in 6, but he was down 0-2, the Bulls down 0-2. They won 4 straight games and then won the championship. So those are my favorite parts right there, how he overcame different obstacles and still got the job done.
Yeah, that was definitely something I didn't really know either. Like I said, I never really know exact timelines and behind the scenes. So that was definitely really cool to see. Ben, what about you? What was your favorite part or something that kind of stood out to you?
I think just the whole episode that dealt with the Detroit Pistons and his playoff battles against them, because I'd already kind of known a little bit about how, contested and I guess tense that those playoff battles were, and that relationship between MJ and Isaiah Thomas. But I didn't know that it was like that, and I didn't know, watching him get beat up, absolutely demolished anytime he went into the paint, and still finding a way to kind of eventually pull through and win the series was definitely inspiring. So that was probably my favorite part.
Yeah, and on that, I never knew how hated Isaiah Thomas was. I always thought he was a likable guy. You just wait until you see these 2 episodes, Ben. It gets way worse. They're gonna go into the dream team. I don't want to spoil anything. Obviously, it's history, but it's interesting. So we're gonna leave it at that. Ben has a good episode to watch. But we'll kind of move on from there. The rest of the episode, we have some good debates going on. 2 of these things I've been talking with friends, family, some of you guys about for the past week. I put it on Twitter. And I was just kind of amazed at some of the responses. So we'll kind of start off with this. It was kind of I don't want to say viral, but it's been going around on different Facebook groups and and different Twitter profiles. It was a picture with a caption that said, "What two players can you remove from this photo and still be able to tell the history of the NBA without their contributions?" And the players in the picture were Larry Bird, Bill Russell, LeBron James, Allen Iverson, Kobe, MJ, and Wilt. And just to kind of give you what this picture looked like, every single one of them were on their feet standing, except for AI, who was sitting on the ground. I thought that was pretty funny. But, I sent the picture to you guys so you can take a look at it. I kind of want to hear your thoughts on this. What two players would you remove from that photo and why? And I really don't want to know why, because like I said, I've been talking to so many people. I've heard so many different things. I'm just so curious. Stacey, we're going to start with you.
Well, first of all, they need a new picture where Allen Iverson is standing up. I found they're very distasteful. Him just sitting on the floor. I didn't like it. But the two people that I will Jordan, you're going to hate me. You're going to hate me. But okay. I'm going to pick Larry Bird and Bill Russell. I think if you.
That's just a double whammy, Stacey.
I know that if I say you're going to say Larry Bird and Bill Russell. The reason why I picked those two is because that I would say like their staying power. They're respected in NBA circles, but when you talk about them in pop culture, their popularity, them being a world-renowned name or whatever, those two just don't come up. And a lot of people forget about Bill Russell having 11 rings, or we talk so much about, Michael Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, and the best forwards in the game, and Larry Bird somehow gets lost in that shuffle. And like their game doesn't come off, their playing style, their game don't come off as impressive as the other people on this list. So they tend to get knocked down all the time. And then to throw this out there, they are Boston Celtics players, and the Celtics are not the most liked team of all time. So they got that going against them. So I'll choose them two right there.
Okay, so I'm debating with you on this one. I'm not going to say who I'm picking yet, but I think you're the first person that I've seen or that I've directly interacted with, whether I've like texted to my friends, family, or put it on Twitter. I think you are the first person I've seen to say Bird. Or no, I think you're the first person I've seen to say Bird. So I've heard people say Russell, so I'm not necessarily going to argue that one, but Larry Bird, the whole thing with him, I feel like he needs to be there for the history of the NBA, because I feel without Larry Bird versus Magic Johnson, the NBA never becomes as popular as it is today. I feel like kind of before that it was really nothing, and it wasn't until Magic Johnson versus Larry Bird, the great Celtics-Lakers rivalry, kind of resparking there, that whole decade of just constant battling, and those guys kind of stuck around. Larry Bird was a coach afterwards, then he became I think he was a general manager, so it's not like he just kind of played in the NBA and bounced. He's still around. And obviously Magic Johnson, I don't need to say anything about his contributions to the NBA.
Yeah, but I'm sorry to cut you off, but for me, like when I was hearing about the Magic Johnson Larry Bird rivalry and all that stuff, the story how it was told, the perspective, like everybody was cheering for Magic Johnson to beat Larry Bird. Like that's how it came off to me.
Okay.
Like the Lakers was that, because the Lakers was that popular team. Everybody loved the Lakers, purple and gold, Showtime and whatever. Then you got the Celtics, who were the opposite. So like a lot of people was going for Magic instead of Bird.
Fair. So I'm reading a book right now. I think it's called Elevated. It's really interesting. So it's kind of like every chapter starts with like something by the author, and then it takes a newspaper clipping from that time period, and it goes back all the way. And I was actually just reading the thing about Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, and from my understanding, obviously, again, I didn't live through it, so I can't speak like on the terms, but from what I read, it was a big race thing at the time as well. Obviously, Larry Bird, one of his nicknames was the Great White Hope. Obviously, the NBA was primarily a black sport. There was a huge decline of white players in the NBA. It's pretty much still like that. But a lot of people, at that time specifically, were not a big fan of that. So I feel like it was very divided, almost kind of like a racist thing. And I feel like Boston really gets a bad rep with that, kind of even dating back to that. Obviously, there are one or two incidences that still happen. I'll take that back. There's been a couple of instances. It's not just one or two that Boston has done that. But I still feel like I feel like Larry Bird had such a big role in the history of the NBA. I feel like taking him out of that equation, I feel like the NBA would be so different. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but Ben, it's your time to shine. What two are you taking out?
I'm surprised you said that to Stacey, because you replied to my tweet on that where I said I would take out Larry Bird and Kobe Bryant.
You did say Larry Bird. Okay.
I wasn't sure if you did. Okay. So for me, as far as Kobe, he's one of the great, and both of these guys I think are top 10, at least top 15 players of all time, at the very least top 15. But definitely I feel top 10 players of all time. But to me, this isn't as much about their play on the court and statistics and stuff like that as it is their impact. And you definitely make a good argument for Larry Bird. But I think if he and Magic hadn't had that rivalry, the NBA still would have become popular through Jordan or through Magic's rivalry with someone else. Whereas guys Bill Russell paved the way for black NBA players, 11 rings. He wasn't the first black NBA player, but he was the first player to do it with as much success as he had and popularity as well. LeBron James, obviously the GOAT of our generation, of my generation at least. Michael Jordan, the GOAT of the 90s. And, of course, the all-time greatest basketball player ever. Wilt Chamberlain, they had to change rules to make the game harder for him. Offensive goaltending was put in place as a rule because Wilt was just too damn dominant around the rim. And you used to be able to jump across the free throw line and land over it before they had to change that rule because Wilt was just throwing himself backboard alleys. So I think Wilt, kind of in a similar way that Shaq was too dominant, they had to change rules to make the game harder on Wilt. And those rules are still in place today. Mm-hmm. So I think definitely be a different league. And AI, the way he dressed, the tattoos, just his personality in general, his flair, the NBA would be a completely different league as far as the players' lives off court and how they were controlled back then if AI hadn't, kind of become the sacrificial lamb or whatever you want to call it. So it's definitely tough. All of these guys had huge impacts. But I would have to take out Bird and Kobe just because I don't know if their impact on the game matched up with the rest of these guys.
So at first, you weren't the only person to say Kobe. I've already talked about Bird, so I won't go back into that. You weren't the first person I've heard that put Kobe down at first. I was pretty surprised about that. But then I was talking with my dad, my uncle, and a couple other people. And even Kobe said it today in the documentary. He literally molded his game off of these guys. So I guess I can see it. He was dominant on the court, but what did he – I hate saying this, especially since, he's no longer here. But obviously he was a great player. I feel like I'm going to get roasted for saying this. But, what did he do for the NBA as a whole?
Yeah, well, he definitely – go ahead, Stacey.
Two words they did. Mamba mentality. That still goes on today. That still carries on today. That's forever in the NBA. He touched a lot of lives of players born in the 90s, in the 2000s, and his impact still felt to this day. That drive to win. So he's our Michael Jordan. So I say the whole Mamba mentality thing, and watching him winning those 2 championships without Shaq, I think that's where he stays in this conversation.
So let me ask you this. Could you credit Kobe kind of finding that Mamba mentality to Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, he even said it himself.
Mm-hmm.
He modeled everything after Jordan. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so it took me a while to understand people out and seeing everyone's kind of point of view. I can understand it. It's just so hard because he was such a dominant player, and obviously, I hate saying that as a Celtics fan. Look behind me; it's literally in my blood. But yeah, Ben, did you have something else you wanted to say?
Oh, just about about Kobe. I mean, you guys pretty much covered it. Like, he definitely had an impact on players and all of us as fans. I don't know if he had the same impact on like the way the game is played and the way the league is shaped as other people, but like obviously utmost respect to Kobe. And just quickly about Bird, like I do want to say that he was ruthless. I would say like one of the first trash talkers in the NBA, and he did not hold back with all that. And he played flashy too, which is how the game today is played.
Mm-hmm.
So it was definitely tough to leave both of those guys off, but that's a tough list. So
yeah, Bird kind of had a swagger to him, and you can kind of see it in the highlights. They even showed a couple today. It was fun. But I guess I'll say my two now. The first one, and which was one of the more common ones said across all the platforms I saw, was Allen Iverson. That was my first one. My second one kills me to say, but I had Bill Russell. And I'll kind of break it down how I came to this decision. And I made this decision before I talked to anyone else. So would I change it now? Possibly. I probably may tweak it a little bit, but this is before I talk to anyone, so I'm gonna be honest with my original decision. So I took AI because I feel like compared to all of the other people, in my opinion, like I feel like Allen Iverson, like you could take him out, and like the only thing that would change is like guys would still be wearing like baggy suits and jean shorts, and it would just be weird. But like the NBA as a whole would probably still be fine. Like, yeah, he changed the culture of the NBA and more of that, but I feel like overall compared to the rest of the impact these guys had, I don't know, it was tough for me to take someone over that. So AI was more of the easy decision for me. The second one, Bill Russell, this was a little bit harder for me. But at the end of the day, I decided to take Bill Russell out. Yeah, obviously he's won 11 rings. It's crazy. But at the end of the day, other than that, obviously he did have an impact on, kind of getting black players into the NBA and kind of paving that road. But you could take him out, and there are other players that did that as well. Like look at Oscar Robertson. He did that as well. There are other players that kind of paved the way as well. So I feel like you take Bill Russell out of the equation, it'll still happen. Maybe a little bit slower. Obviously, you said that he was one of the first ones to be kind of dominant about it, but you take him out, someone would have filled those shoes. It would have happened one way or another. That's my belief. In my opinion, you can't take Bird out because without Bird, you don't get the Magic Bird rivalry, and the league doesn't become popular. LeBron James, I'm a hater. You guys know that, but you can't take LeBron out. You can't. Trust me, I looked for ways, guys. I looked for ways.
You can't.
And obviously people are very opinionated, but like having the whole LeBron James, Michael Jordan, who's the GOAT, that's part of the league's history now. Like you can't take that out. And it's really interesting. Kobe, I've said my words on him, but after I've talked to people, I could see people taking him out. So I guess he could possibly be interchangeable in my options. MJ, enough said, and in my opinion, Wilt, enough said too. Ben pretty much hit the nail on the head with everything he said about Wilt. But this is going to be a perfect transition into the next one. So what happened is on the CrownHoops Twitter, at CrownHoops, I posted that picture on our account and kind of just let people go at it in the comments. And I noticed a lot of people were saying Bill Russell and a lot of people were saying Wilt Chamberlain. One or the other, they would take them out. And in my head, I could not see how anyone would rather take out Wilt Chamberlain instead of Bill Russell. I feel like Wilt just did so much more for the league, in my opinion. But people were like arguing with me. So I was like, okay, let's figure this out. So I put out a poll. Last I checked, it was like 50-50. And there were like a good amount of votes on it. So like I'm really surprised. Like and like I was hearing people's debates. It's like if they thought Wilt did more for the league, they could not see any way how Bill Russell would have done more for the league. But the people that said Bill Russell did more for the league couldn't see how any of us could see that Wilt did more for the league. I found it so interesting.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's not all that different from the LeBron MJ situation. Like in the 50s, 60s, that was LeBron and MJ. Obviously, or that was, I guess, Bird and Magic, more like, because they were always going at each other in the finals, and Bill Russell always whooped Wilt's ass, which is, I guess, a big argument as to why people are taking Bill Russell over Wilt. But I mean, 11 rings is tough to argue. But if you're talking who did more for the NBA, I think it's Wilt Chamberlain. But I can see, I guess, both perspectives.
That was my thought too, and I was specifically saying, like, who did more for the league, not who is better. I'm pretty sure I put that in all caps. I'm not trying to argue like who's the better player on the court. I'm trying to argue who did more for the NBA. And like I'm a Celtics fan. Like it kills me not to pick Bill Russell here, but like it's so clearly Wilt. And I was like I said, I was talking to my dad, my uncle, my friends, and like some of them are split too, and it just blows my mind. But Stacey, what's your thought on that?
It's clearly Wilt who done more for the NBA. It's clearly Wilt. First of all, we are still trying to find this man's 100-game footage. We still trying to find it to this day. Number one, and number two, just like Ben brought up earlier, he literally changed the NBA. He changed the rules. They changed the rules so that way he won't score 75 points per game. So it's Wilt, and those rules, like Ben said, are still prevalent to this day. They still there. So I'm picking Wilt. It's easy for me.
That's what I'm saying, right? That argument alone should be like a mic drop, walk off stage, like you're done. Like, how do you counter that? I get 11 rings is impressive, but like rule changes. He literally changed the league. Like, I don't know. That got me so irritated when I first tweeted that. I was just watching the results come in. I was getting so heated. I was like, come on, guys. I wish Twitter, you could do like analytics on poll results to see like the age demographics and see like, okay, like who are the 13-year-olds that probably don't know like anything right here versus like, okay, who are probably the more educated people? Like, I wish I could split it down into that, which would be kind of interesting. But we'll move on from that. We have another debate. We have two more debates to end off this episode. This is just literally a debate episode. I love it. We've done these before where we've kind of debated who's the greatest to wear a certain jersey number. This time I went ahead and picked jersey number 1. You guys had this at a time, did your research. Stacey, we'll start with you. Who is your greatest player to wear jersey number 1 and why? And if you had any like close seconds, let me know that too.
I didn't get a deep list. I do want to hear you guys who y'all think, but for right now, I would say the greatest player to wear number 1 is Tracy Mcgrady. Despite all of his injuries and what he's been through, he still was a fantastic player. He wore number 1, I believe, with the Magic and with the Rockets. So he wore number 1 for a long time, and T-Mac was dominant. T-Mac was a beast, and I would like to give an honorable mention to Penny Hardaway. Now, I did see Oscar Robertson on this list, but I read that he only wore number 1 for like 4 years, so that's why I didn't pick Oscar Robertson. But historically, Oscar Robertson holds up more than Tracy McGrady. But as far as like popular number 1, the best player to ever do it, the best skill set, despite injury, I'm going with T-Mac.
Okay. Ben, what about you?
Well, for me, Oscar Robertson would have been the easy choice, but he didn't wear number 1 until the last few years of his career.
Right.
It wasn't during the averaging triple-double, all-star, whatever seasons. It was towards the last, I think, 4, maybe 5 years of his career. So I'm not going to give it to Magic. Derrick Rose and Baron Davis were both also, contenders that came up in my mind. But I got to agree with Stacey, give it to T-Mac. He wore it in his prime, Raptors, Magic, and Rockets, and also with the Pistons, Hawks, and Spurs. But, that's past his prime. But his time with the Magic and the Raptors, he was one of the most dominant players in the league. And, of course, with the Rockets, he scored, 13 points in 30 seconds, something like that, with with Yao Ming and those Rockets against the Spurs in a playoff series to win a game. So for me, Tracy McGrady is probably the most dominant, best player to wear number one. But it was definitely tough to leave Oscar Robertson out of that argument, but he didn't wear it till the end of his career. So,
Not gonna lie, I fully expected you to have a troll answer and say Pat McCaw.
you know what? I fully expected, looking at this list, I fully expected myself to have a troll answer and say J.R. Smith with the Nuggets or Lance Stevenson with the Pacers. But
honestly, though, that J.R. Smith, that's like prime J.R. with Denver. So like
yeah, J.R.
that's like an honorable mention right there. But honestly, so many players have worn number one. Like Amari Stoudemire has as well.
Yeah.
Like you said, Tracy McGrady. This is a long, long list of players. And it's so crazy. Like Allen Iverson wore number one in 2009 with the Detroit Pistons. Like it's crazy to see like some of these names. I was like, you didn't wear that number, and it's like, oh wait, maybe you did. Like Kemba Walker wore number one for a year with the Bobcats in 2012. Like it's just so interesting. But my number one, I'm gonna be different than you guys. I had Derrick Rose, and hear me out. So obviously Trace McGrady, probably long-term career-wise, longevity, probably had a better career than Derrick Rose will probably end up having. But I think if Derrick Rose never got hurt, dude would have been outstanding. I think he would have been like, he'd be up there in the debate for the GOAT. Dude, he was crazy. He was different. You just gotta watch his.
He was super explosive, but we're not really banking on what he could have been though.
I know it's tough. But like I feel like you still gotta give him that credit. Like what the youngest ever MVP. The things he did while he wore that jersey number are insane.
Ridiculous. He was really good.
It's tough. Like obviously I give respect to Trace McGrady. He's one of my favorite players too. I don't know, man. I just feel like Derrick Rose would have been something special if he never got hurt. But like I said, like Amari Stoudemire, you could have picked. He had a pretty good career.
Yeah.
This is a long, long list. Steven Jackson wore number one for a while. Obviously I wouldn't put him in debate for the best to ever wear it, but it's just so crazy seeing all of these guys that at one point or another have worn it, and I had no idea of it. Yeah, so I guess we'll move on from that. We'll end the episode off with a mystery player debate. This one's good. I spent a lot of time looking for this one. I had like 5 weeks to do it, so I'd hope it's a good one. I think that's how long it's been since. It's been a while. I don't know how many weeks, but this is a very, very good one. I'm excited for this one. So I'm going to start it off, right? Both of these guys are power forwards. Player A, in 27.6 minutes per game, he gets 14 points, 4.6 rebounds, 2.1 assists, and he shoots at 49.7% from the field, 20.7%. Player B, in 21.4 minutes per game, hits 13.1 points, 6.3 rebounds, 1.0 assists, shooting 56.7% from the field and 38.6% from deep. So you guys know the drill. Who would you take out of this situation? And eventually, who do you think they are? So I'll kind of let you guys debate it out.
I would take player B. Player B to me is the higher value player. Way more efficient from the field and from deep. And he's doing it in less time too. More rebounds as well. Points pretty much the same. Assists pretty much the same. I would definitely take player B.
Me too.
Player B?
Me too.
Okay. So let me ask you guys this. Do you think this is a huge difference? Like, do you think this is like a crazy good player versus just someone decent? Or do you think these guys are like pretty similar?
They look like they do similar things, like they the same type of player, but player B, like Ben said, is just more efficient at it in less minutes. So
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say either of them are really stars just based off their numbers. Player A could maybe be like I don't know. What kind of numbers is Bam Adebayo putting up? I don't know, but he's definitely lower in the points category than most All-Stars are. But I don't think either of these players are, superstars or anything like that. I would say they're pretty similar in skill level.
Any guesses on who they are?
Is player B the player B come off the bench?
He did for part of the season,
Mm-hmm.
but he ended the season as a starter.
Power forward that came and started.
Mm-hmm. And I'll also say this, and I triple checked this time so I don't look like a dumbass. Player A, West Coast. Player B, East Coast.
Okay. And they're both power forwards?
They're both power forwards.
Do they play for contending teams or?
Not this season.
Non-playoffs. Oh.
Wow. I don't know. This is kind of hard. Not contending teams. Player A is in the West. Player B is on the East.
I'll also give you this hint. Player A is a 23-year-old rookie.
A 23-year-old rookie.
Old-ass rookie.
Rookie. Player B is 24, but he's in his 6th season in the league.
Damn.
Oh man.
But to be fair, in those 6 seasons, he hasn't played a lot of games.
Injury, lots of injuries.
I don't necessarily know if it's injury or not. I don't think it was an injury. I just don't think he was good.
Just not good. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was only the past 2 seasons where he's gotten significant minutes.
He's in the West.
Who's not a playoff team this year?
You didn't do Brandon Clark again, did you?
No.
Okay.
I
learned from my mistakes.
I'm not gonna lie. I was thinking that too. I was reading Player B. I was like,
yeah,
trying to trick us.
Never again.
Hold on. Who's all the playoff teams that? No, I mean non-playoff teams in the West. You got Timberwolves, the Suns. The Blazers. I don't know.
Player A has started in 26 out of the 60 games.
Is Player A Eric Pascal?
He is. Player A is Eric Pascal.
Oh, Ben, you're so good at this.
I feel like you always end up guessing them.
This is the first one I've ever got. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy about it.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I was kind of surprised by those numbers, but I guess it makes sense because of the team he's on. But
yeah.
Well. Player B, yeah. Player B is pretty interesting.
Yeah, Player B.
I was surprised. I was surprised to see he's been in the league this long because I feel like I've just heard of him this year.
Non-playoff team.
I will give you another hint.
Okay.
This will be more helpful to you guys, not necessarily the people listening at home. He was a big free agency find this year in our fantasy basketball league. At a certain point after a certain trade.
All I know is that in our fantasy league, I made a lot of dumbass decisions, so could have been anyone that I released for.
Wait, who traded for him?
I don't think anyone released him. I think he was a free agent the entire time.
So just no one drafted him.
Let me check that. But I'm pretty sure he was undrafted the entire time until this trade. But I'm gonna double check that for you. Because I'm pretty sure I know who has this position.
13 points, 6 rebounds. Shooting well from the field.
Yep. Yeah, he was a free agent the entire time.
.21 minutes, 13 points, 6 boards. I don't know. I'm getting close to giving up. What about you, Stacey?
Final
Is it a
hint.
9?
He had the coronavirus.
Oh, is it Christian Wood?
It's Christian Wood. Then is 2 for 2
I'm
tonight.
2 for 2 tonight.
Yeah, so Christian
Good
Wood
stuff.
was player B. You guys both picked Christian Wood over Eric Pascal. Yeah, I had no idea he was in the league for 6 years.
Yeah, me
Wow,
neither.
you guys
yeah.
knew that.
I thought he was like a second-year player.
That's
Yeah.
what I thought too. I was looking at his stats. It was insane. Like, if you guys pull him up on Basketball Reference, it was like he played 62 games this season, started in 12 after Blake Griffin got traded. The year before, he was on the Pelicans, played in 8 games, started in 2. The year before that, played in 13. The year before that, he played in 21, 13, and 17 in the 2 years prior.
He
So
came
like,
into the league young then. If
he was
what?
20. He was drafted by Philly. Was he drafted or was he signed? Let me check that. It doesn't even say if he was drafted, so I'm assuming he was a free agent. It usually says the draft pick. But yeah, I was stunned by that. I feel like he just kind of came out of nowhere.
He did, yeah. He was having to these numbers don't really tell the whole story because before, like in the games that he was getting significant playing time, he was scoring like crazy and he was playing really well.
Yeah, he's been having a good season. It's definitely turnaround.
Yeah, his percentages tell it all. So he'll definitely be a big acquisition for, if he's coming up on free agency, I don't know, but he's definitely going to be a big piece for someone next year.
For sure, and especially someone that needs a big man, Celtics. But yeah, that's it for this episode 36 of the Crown Hoops Podcast. As always, my name is Jordan Daly. With me this week, we had Stacey Collier and Ben Okazawa, and we will see you guys next week / next time, because who knows. Peace.